something. And while we were sitting there, Thor and Doctor Strange are like walking around on deck 4, like meeting people. And then we're like, hey, do you guys want to go be on our trivia team? And they're like, yeah, let's go. So the 4 of us adults go with Thor and Doctor Strange to O'Gill's to do trivia.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by We Do Travel Right. And Sam, it's time for your jingle.
Woohoo! I love it. Simply the best, better than all the rest.
All right. This week's listener review comes from, it's MOMMEGW. So I'm going to go with Mom Meg W, who writes, hands down, all caps, the absolute best Disney cruise podcast out there. Sam and Brian provide an insightful and entertaining podcast on all things Disney cruising. A wealth of information is always shared, regardless if you are a Disney novice or a Disney enthusiast. Once you begin listening, you will be hooked. Full of tips and tricks, never boring, honest, and always cheerful. Be sure to check them out. Our family is always excited to take a listen to their latest episode. Well, thank you so much for that review. I'm going to call you Meg. Meg, thank you so much for that review. We appreciate it. I'm wearing my Brian hat from Family Guy. So if your name is Meg, we've been watching a little Family Guy around this house.
Honest and always cheerful is funny because I think that Brian hits very heavy on the honesty and I am probably the cheerful one. I don't think people generally describe you as cheerful, Brian.
Let's just call a spade a spade. I'm the wet blanket on the show, but that's fine. All right. I asked the penetrating questions. Sam keeps the show moving. All right. So with that, I just want to remind everyone out there, a little PSA. If you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please head over to Apple Podcasts on whatever device you're listening to. Hit those 5 stars. If you leave us a written review with your 5-star rating, we will read it on the air at the top of one of our main episodes. And if you happen to be listening to us anyplace else, Spotify, YouTube, all the places, I mean, there's like, it seems like 100 different podcasting apps. If you're out there listening to us on a different app other than Apple, give us all the popcorn buckets, thumbs up, stars, confetti cannons, like whatever it is. Just give those to it because they help surface our show to other people who may not have discovered us yet. And we want them to leave, they want them to find these great listener reviews. We want them to listen to the show too. So help us out. It's the easiest way to help support the show. Leave us a review. So Sam, over to you. We've got kind of a complicated Dance Dance Revolution style crew setup today. So I know you're memorizing it pre-show. So
yes, we're going to be talking about a side to back cruise. That's what I'm going to call this. So it's actually, or just a triple header. That's another way to describe this.
To the side, to the side, to the back,
to the back,
yeah,
to the front. To the front. Slide, baby. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Everything's a song in our household.
Maybe we should call this kind of a setup, a slide to slide cruise. There you go.
I like that. I like that. Well,
there you go.
Well, I'm super excited. Our guests, we have 2 guests today with us, but Todd reached out to us about this triple header, wanting to, talk about he and Erica's cruises. You guys have we have a great itinerary on tap for today, basically. But before we talk about exactly which cruises you guys did, I got to introduce you guys and welcome you to the show. Welcome, Todd and Erica.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you both. Let's start with Disney background, Disney cruising background. Like, which one of you started your Disney journey first? Are both of you Disney kids to adult, or did one of you start later than the other?
I blame it all on Todd. I never went to Disney World until I was 28 years old. So, and no one believes that because now we're so full on Disney everything. But
full on Disney adult now.
Yeah, it's Todd's fault. So I'll let him tell his little story.
All right, Todd.
Yeah. So I did go to Disney World once when I was a kid in 1988. I was 7 years old and went, but that did not start our obsession. Instead, I used to work in college athletics and I was traveling with our school softball team down to the Orlando area, Central Florida. And there was an off day and I was like, let me see what's going on. I know Disney World's around here. Let me go check it out. But I didn't know anything about it. And so this one year I went over towards, I was actually the boardwalk area and to Epcot. And they said it was like $67 to get in, which I was like, no way, no chance I'm doing that. Now we jump at that.
Right. I would $67. I'd be like, sign me up. How do I,
exactly.
can I go right now?
I'll fly there just to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I did a little bit of research in the ensuing year and went back the next year and had learned about Animal Kingdom Lodge. And went over to Animal Kingdom Lodge again on a kind of an off day and walked in the lobby. And the moment I walked in the lobby, like it's all kind of short. And then you walk in and it just comes up like that. And at that moment I was like, oh, we have to go on vacation here.
Yeah.
So ironically, we've never stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
That lobby is really beautiful. Yeah.
Exactly. But we've gone to Animal Kingdom Lodge. Yeah, exactly. Every time we go, we're at Animal Kingdom Lodge at some point. So we started off as parks people, obviously, given this story. The following year, 2007, is our first trip. And we went to Disney World for a week. We stayed at Coronado Springs, and that started an obsession that's almost 20 years now. And we started off as parks people. Our first cruise was in 2013 on the Dream. And we've cruised a lot more recently. Like we did 2013, we did the Magic in 2015, the Fantasy in 2018, and now we're up to our 3 cruises, up to 15 now. So we've kind of shifted a little bit where we're not going to parks, but we're going on more cruises. For us, that's just where the value and the enjoyment is currently. But yeah, that's kind of how we got started. Animal Kingdom Lodge is what got us into Disney.
Interestingly, on our first cruise, I always wanted to go on a cruise. So then we were like, well, Disney cruise or Disney and a cruise. And back then I was getting into running and I said, well, if I can run the Disney half marathon, we should go on a cruise. And Todd said, okay, because he probably didn't think I was going to do it. And then when I was training, the first day I ran 10 miles, he booked the cruise the next day.
Yes.
And we went on our cruise. It was awesome.
Yeah, because if you can run, so the PSA, if you can run 10 miles, you can run 13.1. That's just
100%.
Like, yeah.
100%. And we both got back from the cruise and we're like, that was kind of fun. I could do it again, but we like the parks, and we kind of went back to parks. And about 3-4 months after the cruise, independently, we both came home one day and we're like, that was pretty fun. We should do that again. And now we haven't actually been in the parks for a parks trip since 2020, since before COVID. And we've just been full on cruising.
Yeah. Now, are you guys still doing like the races? I know in the background, Todd's got a bunch of his, Run Disney races and Run Disney like medals and the ears, of course, that are from the marathon, which those ears you get if you are actually complete a full marathon. I do not own a pair of those. I have the ears that I have bought, like Mickey ears with my name on the back, but not those ears, not the marathon ears. Ryan does have from 2020, he has a pair of marathon ears as well.
I think this is also kind of interesting because I'm the one who started the Run Disney because I said, well, if I do this Disney half marathon, we'll go on a Disney cruise. So I blame that on me. And Todd was a runner at the time and would just go run every single day because he can. And he's like, sure, I'll do it. Didn't train at all. And he got done and he said, that was awful. I don't know how they get anyone to do a full marathon. It was the worst thing ever. I'm never doing that again. And then fast forward, he had knee surgery. And as he was recovering from knee surgery in 2015, he said, he was watching the finish of the marathon online. And he said, well, if all these people can do it, I could probably do it. But he doesn't do anything part way because he said, well, if I could do the marathon. And then I was like, well, I'll do the half marathon. He's like, okay, I'll do that with you. And he's like, well, if I'm going to do both of those, then you know what's coming.
I might as well do the dopey.
He might as well do the dopey.
Once you're doing a goofy, you might as well do the dopey. I mean, oh my God, you're a crazy person.
So he did his dopey and he got done with the marathon and he walked up to me and he said, I said, how was it? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, we're doing this again, aren't we? So, I have not run in several years for Run Disney. I don't really, my body is not good at that anymore, but Todd now is obsessed.
So I've done Dopey every even year since 2018, and I'm signed up this coming January since, even though it's an odd January, because this past year I had an injury and couldn't finish the half or the full, so or didn't even start them. So I need some redemption there.
Okay, so you're a crazy person. I just want to put that out there. But you're also really similar to another crazy person I know, Brian, because Brian, like Todd, doesn't do anything halfway. It's like he's like, it's all or nothing. So like full on when he was doing a lot of running, he was like full on with running. When we started the podcast, full on with the podcast. When we started just doing Disney, full on with Disney. Like he's the reason. I mean, I am more of like childhood Disney fan and throughout, but like he's the reason we bought DVC. It's all, and the reason we started this podcast, it's all on him, and that's for good or bad.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna like something, go all out on it.
I know. So let's.
I get
you guys
to go to Disney when he runs.
Right, exactly. So I'm with you, Erica. I'm fine with that. Now you have sailed now 15 times. These last 3 sailings that we're going to talk about, 3 sailings, is kind of crazy. You did, as I mentioned at the top of the show, you did a side to back. And what I mean by that is you were on the Destiny, then you switched ports and ships and got on the Fantasy. And then you did another on the Fantasy, a second. So you did a back-to-back on the Fantasy. So that's what I'm calling a side to back, triple header. Brian wants to call it a slide to slide, whatever, or slide to slide. I don't know. Anyway, what gave you the crazy idea to do this, you guys? Like which one of you decided on this, and why did you choose doing it this way? Like if you're going to do like a side to side, why are you switching ports? Why are you doing 2 different ships?
And interestingly, it's not the first time we've switched ports here. So I think a couple of things. One is I think we're both collectors. So getting each ship as they come out has become a thing. So we knew we needed to go on the Destiny. May is a good time of year for us to travel. We get pretty good rates still because the schools aren't out, but we're done. We work at a university. So that timing works out. So we had the Destiny booked for a while. And then we had last year gone on the Treasure in May. And we started thinking, but we really love the Fantasy. And if we just keep going on the new ships, then what about the old ships? We don't want them to forget us. So
I often think like, is the Disney Destiny thinking about me as much as I'm thinking about it? Is the Disney Wonder thinking about me?
All those cast members, which I'm sure we'll get into. We love cast members. So, and also we're coming from Pennsylvania, so going down to Florida for just a 5-night cruise is kind of, we're looking for something else to do. And I think, as Todd mentioned, the cruises seem to be where the value is for us right now. The parks are just so expensive. Everything's expensive. But so we started looking, and the Fantasy was the next day. So we're like, well, that works out. I have an aunt and uncle who live near Port Everglades. So that's very convenient for lodging and transportation and food. So so that happened. And then I don't know exactly how the second Fantasy happened.
It just happened. Somehow you just ended up
kind of happened. Yeah, it just kind of happened. And we were like, why? Well, we haven't done back to back. So again, back to that collecting, we hadn't had that experience yet. So now we can check it off the list.
And I think with that too, I think it somewhat happened because we were like, well, we can do a 4-night. It was a 5 on the Destiny, 5-night on the Fantasy, and then 4-night on the Fantasy.
Oh wow! So you have 3 weeks total.
Yeah, and the adding the extra 4-night on the Fantasy, it only added 2 more vacation days from work. So it was kind of like, well, as long as we're already there and it's only 2 more days off, like we might as well make it happen.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, when you booked the Destiny first and then you booked Fantasy. Now, when you booked the Fantasy, were you able to book the same room so that you wouldn't have to change rooms in between? No. Yeah.
Unfortunately, no, because we didn't book them at the same time.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. Yeah.
So we are, something you'll learn through this conversation, we are inside room people. We are not spending money usually on excursions. We're happy with the ship. But there's a little secret on the Fantasy and Dream, maybe on other ships, but there's an inside room on deck 2 that used to be an accessible room and is no longer, I don't know.
Classified.
Yeah,
as
so
an accessible room.
it probably meets certain accessibility standards, but doesn't meet all of them or something like that now. Yeah.
So it's this little hidden gem because there's a ton of space and the bathroom is big and the, walk-in shower. I think a shower where it's just in the room would be my dream, I think, after this. So we really wanted that room. When it came around to booking the second cruise, it wasn't available. So we could have probably switched the first cruise to match the second, but we didn't want those 5 nights not in that room. So we ended up switching rooms. We tried to put in a request ahead of time, and we tried while we were on the first cruise to see, is there anything that can be done so we could stay? So we did have to move. And I have to say, we've always been fine with inside rooms, and our second room was great. But after that first one with all the extra space, I was like, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to kind of look at the trade-offs, right? Like if you really love a particular room, and you've got it for one cruise, you've got to decide what's more worth it to you, right? Having to switch rooms versus staying in that preferred room. And so I think it's going to be a different call for different people. Right? Some people are going to be like, well, I'd rather, to be perfectly honest, I would be okay with a slightly less desirable room if I don't have to repack and move. I just love not having to move on a back-to-back cruise. But on the other hand, I understand the extra space and having that, the accessible showers are awesome. I mean, that's just it's, even if you don't need it, it's a really nice thing to have. So, yeah.
I was concerned about the packing. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but it ended up working out fine, mostly because the amount of cabinets and drawers were the same. So throwing everything in the bags and having the room hosts move them, once I unpacked, it took 10 minutes because I was like, oh, I already know how I want to organize all of it. To me is the hardest part. So that part wasn't so bad. I guess I'll just add to the list of things to check off. Next time we'll do a back-to-back in the same room. So now we have to do it again.
Now you have to do it again. It's just another.
This is how we get in trouble. This is how we get in trouble.
We're just adding things to the bucket list for future completion. I absolutely understand.
Exactly.
All right, I want to back up and talk about some of the logistics of all of this, because there is some travel involved. Obviously, I mean, you guys were coming down from Pennsylvania. You're first going to be going out of Port Canaveral, and then second going to be going out of Port Everglades. Todd, walk me through. Oh, the other way around. That's right. Sorry. Right, because you're going on the Fantasy last, right? Sorry, Port Everglades is the Destiny, and then Port Canaveral the Fantasy. Todd, walk me through the logistics of when do you get to Florida, and where do you stay, and then I want to talk about the transport situation as well.
Yeah, so for us, we actually left Pennsylvania and drove up to Rochester, New York, where my parents live, so they could watch our dog for us. So that was our first leg of the journey. And then we flew out of Rochester down to Fort Lauderdale, and the Destiny left on Saturday. We got to Fort Lauderdale on Friday evening. As Erica mentioned, her aunt and uncle live in the Fort Lauderdale area, so they picked us up from the airport. They took us out to dinner. Actually, I think they might have actually allowed us to pay for dinner that night, which never happens. And then the next morning they took us to the port. So that was that was that beginning of logistics. Super easy. They live maybe 35 minutes from the port. I think so. So we got there probably about 10:45, 11 o'clock. They dropped us off, and we were on our way to boarding.
I love that. All right. That's fantastic. Like, that's the most seamless it could all be. You don't even have to worry about parking yourself. Okay. I want to know
finish cruise one.
Yeah, finish cruise one. Erica, you take us through getting from Port Everglades after you finish cruise one to getting to Port Canaveral for cruise two.
So we got off the cruise. My uncle came and picked us up. We spent the day with them because we got off the ship on the Destiny on Thursday. And if I'm correct, the Fantasy was leaving on Friday. So we spent the day with them, again, went out to dinner. This time they did not let us buy, but we had really good Indian food. And then we rented a car. So they have an enterprise rental that was right near them. So we rented a car that we picked up Thursday afternoon. Friday morning, we got up, drove up to the port, and then that was it. I think we left a little bit later. Our port arrival time was maybe 12:15, a little bit on the late side, which is just happening now that there's so many people using Disney transportation. And we left a little bit later than we probably would have, figuring we should at least stay and have breakfast with them, hang out a little bit before we book out of town. So Todd dropped me off then at the port with the luggage. We got that all done. He went over to return the car and then came back, and then it was time to board the Fantasy.
I love that. All right. So you end up just having to have the car one night then, not even a full 24 hours. I mean, you're paying for like a 24-hour rental, but you don't actually even have it for a 24-hour period of time. That makes it super easy. And then, Todd, did you take the shuttle back from the rental car agency to the port?
I did. I took the shuttle, and it was actually kind of funny because the driver, he was complaining because there was 3 different parties on the shuttle, all to 3 different ships. And so he's kind of grumbling about that. And he's like, oh, gee, the Fantasy, that's always the worst one. Like right at this time, it was like right around 12:30 or so. And he's like, this is the time it gets so backed up. So he dropped someone off. The Wish was in port. So he dropped someone off at the Wish. And then I think he had someone else for a Royal Caribbean ship. And he started heading over that way past the Fantasy. And I'm like, darn, I'm going to be last. But oh, well. And then all of a sudden he pulls into one of the lots that are right next to the parking garage and is like, okay, you can get out. So then he avoided the drop-off line and just had me get out there. And I just crossed the road and I was right there.
Yeah,
so
and that actually makes
perfect.
it easier because you didn't have the luggage because you had already dropped off Erica with the luggage. So you weren't having to like schlep the luggage from one end to the other. You're just being dropped off. You're with, maybe you have like your passport or whatever. That's awesome, actually.
Yeah. So I went from getting a text of Todd saying, we're just approaching the ports, there's a lot of traffic, to him walking up behind me and startling me. And he's like, that was the best shuttle driver ever. And then we were headed into the port. So.
Yeah, because he figured out the shortcut. I love that. Okay. Well, let's talk about I'm going to jump ahead to after cruise number 2 to cruise number 2 to 2 to 3. I just think the logistics part is helpful for people to know, like how a side to side and how a back to back can work. For your back to back part, so you're on the Fantasy 5 nights. You're about to get on the Fantasy for another 4 nights. Like what instructions did you receive from Disney Cruise Line, assuming you did, the night before your embark day?
We received a letter that just came to our room in an envelope, and that had all the instructions. It said like to meet by the Vista Cafe in the Fantasy between 9 and 9:15. They said we'd be escorted off the ship by 9:45. Things they said, leave your luggage. We talked with our room host just to make sure that if we needed to put our luggage tags on, she had put like a Tinkerbell, like ones you would do if you're getting off. And I was like, should we put those on? She's like, yeah, put those on. Just write your room
just
number
leave
on
it
it and
inside
we'll
your
move it.
room.
Yeah. So
leaving it inside your room is key, because if you put it in the hallway with those Tinkerbell tags or any of the character tags, then it's going out to the port, because then they think that you're getting off the ship and somebody else might grab your bag. So
and that's what you're worried about.
Like you guys, I would have thought, okay, I should put my new luggage tags on because it's obvious I'm staying on. But whatever they tell you, as long as you're writing just your room number and not like all the other information.
Yeah. And I just think, if you talk to the room host and explain, and, I felt like that part was very smooth.
I want to back up for a second because, Sam, I don't think you asked about this, which was how was the pre-booking experience across these 3 cruises? Did you get the stuff that you were hoping for?
Yeah, I was going to cover that after, Brian, but I was just covering the logistic part of like the back-to-back part.
Well, I mean, it's a quick answer. We don't really book things, so it wasn't a problem for us.
Just the two Paulos that we did.
Yeah, we did do Paulo, but we can come back to that.
Yeah,
it wasn't so much of a problem because we don't book very much, but we can come back and talk about that.
Yeah, because you booked the second fantasy cruise later than the other two cruises. I mean, you booked all three of them at different times. Yeah.
Yeah. But all of them were booked way before the booking window, so that didn't end up playing a factor. Where'd you leave off, Todd? We were at Vista Cafe. We got off. Oh, you have to bring your passports. You also need to have your key to the world cards because they collect them. So some people that were doing back-to-back did not have them because they were using their magic band and they couldn't. So people were under the assumption they could just check off the ship with their magic band, but they were actually collecting the cards. So people had to kind of pull over. I think we had about 20 people that were doing back-to-back with us. And so they collected the cards. They did tell people they could come to guest services and get them back. We didn't do that. But just so people are aware, if you're doing back-to-back, when you need your passport and your actual key to the world cards to get off.
Interesting. We had heard there's some issue where the reason they don't want you keeping the key to the world card, it's not that they don't want you keeping it as a souvenir, but there's some issue where it can kind of screw up if you end up using the wrong card on your door. It like can screw up their system. And so that they're basically trying to mitigate against that. They want to like fully cancel out that card, I think, something like that.
Yeah. So then we went through the customs. They took our picture with the passport thing. Then we went to a little area. And then I think we were only there about half an hour, 45 minutes. During that time, they brought us over to the old counters at Port Canaveral that you used to check in and you don't do anymore. And we went over there and checked in. And I felt like it was no time we were getting back on the ship.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up probably being about an hour or so, and it was fun because we just talked with all the other people doing back-to-back, which is kind of a fun thing because everyone has a story behind why they're doing it and things like that. So for us, that was fun to talk with others.
I think this is a good time to interject, speaking of stories, because one of the things we love about Disney Cruise Line is cast members at the ports, cast members on the ships. And we had the fortunate opportunity of being family of the day back in last summer when we were on the Magic. And
that's awesome.
It was so fun and unexpected. And then we got on the ship and they're like, you have the whole ship to yourself for 3.5 minutes. Except for the back-to-backers get on before the family of the day. So that was what, we got to add that to the list. But the cast member who helped us, her name was Addie. Shout out to Addie. She was there and she was actually doing the family of the day for our second fantasy cruise. And we saw her. We're like, let's go say hi to Addie. So we walk over and we're about 10, 15 feet away from her. And she's, you were one of my families of the day. And we're like, yeah, how do you remember that? So we chatted for a few minutes, mentioned our town and some different things, never said our names. And she's like, oh, you're the Merritt family. And I was like, how do you know that? And also, this is why we love Disney cast members. Then we were on the ship and she brought the family of the day on. So then when she was leaving, we were yelling to her from the balcony and it was fun.
That's awesome. I got to ask, I will tell you, I have been mostly under the impression that they only choose families with children as family of the day. I don't know that I've seen with teens, like I've seen families with teens and I've seen multi-generational families, but I don't think I've ever seen a couple get chosen. But I love that you got chosen.
I don't think I have either. And I love it too. And it just had happened where we're getting off topic, but we had gotten to the port early because that's how our transportation had worked out. And we were very patiently waiting off to the side, but we're friendly with cast members. So we say, hello, how is your day going? And they chatted with us. And Addie kept going around to different groups. And I said to Todd, I think she's looking for the family of the day because it was pretty early. And I said, but they're not going to pick us because, I'd pick people with kids. And she came back and she's like, so would you be interested in being the family of the, I was like, yes. That's never going to happen again.
I love that. I love that. And for those listening, if you haven't heard us talk about what Family of the Day means, it's you get chosen by a cast member, and it happens on every cruise that a family is chosen. And when I say a family, it will, any size party can be a family. It's not necessarily have to be a larger party or a smaller party. And you get to go on the ship first after back-to-back cruisers, but you get a sort of a special usually character opportunity. So usually a picture with the like Mickey or Minnie typically in the atrium. And and you're like presented essentially as the family of the day. And then, so it's kind of a magical thing that can happen. It's completely random. Maybe the only way you can make yourself more likely to get picked is just we got to be there early because they pick it like at the very beginning of course, boarding because you have to be there early. Maybe if you're wearing like Disney shirts or bounding or something
I was
like
wearing
that.
this shirt.
There you go. Yeah. So that can like help you but get noticed, but it's not like there's no formula. I have no, it's just who decides and which cast member is picking changes, I think, from day to day. It's usually a port side Disney employee that's choosing. But yeah, that's what that is. All right. Well, let's back up. Sorry, we jumped ahead to all of the logistics, and I know Brian asked a great question, which is like the booking in advance. You mentioned you guys aren't real excursion people, and you're not booking a lot of onboard activities, but you are, of course, booking Palo. Let's back up to the Destiny because I want to start there. We're going to have to go topic by topic, but we're going to probably miss some stuff. Now, sailing adult only on the Disney Destiny, I think is great because there's so much to do and lots of like adult specific activities on the Disney Destiny. But I got to start with, what did you guys think when you entered the Grand Hall of the Destiny? Because I believe this was your first time on that ship.
It was our first time on the Destiny. Obviously we've watched countless videos of people on the Destiny. We've seen everything. And but I think, at least for me, the Grand Hall, like when we walked in, it was better than I expected. And in a lot of the photos and videos, I feel like it looks a little bit plain, especially maybe compared to the Treasure. But it does have a little bit more pop to it than I thought that it would. So I think Eric and I have done a lot of ranking of the Wish class ships in different categories and things. And I think like the Treasure is probably still our favorite of those, but the Destiny slots right in there, right behind the Treasure, with the Wish third. Obviously the worst Disney ship's still going to be a good one. But I think that was kind of at least my first impression of the Destiny in the Grand Hall.
Now, what did you guys prioritize in terms of, you're on for 5 days, so you're going to be able to get a lot done, but what were your sort of priorities going into the cruise of things I definitely need to see this, I definitely need to do this? I'm wearing an Avengers shirt today in honor of talking about the Destiny because it is such an Avengers heavy themed ship and also villains themed. I know heroes and villains, but it's really, I think it leans much more into the villain side of things.
I think so too. I agree.
Yeah. Now, but what were your like priorities, Erica, going into the Destiny? You listened to our show, you watched YouTube videos. Like, what were the things you're like, I have to do that, I have to see that?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I think we were so focused on this idea of this triple header, whatever we're calling it, that I kind of forgot the Destiny was new and that I didn't know what was going to be on it. And it sounds awful, but it's like the week before, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going to be different. Like I knew Pride Lands was going to be different and we were looking forward to that. But I think one thing going for the Destiny, but also just the Wish class ships is the shows, kind of the smaller shows. So they have the Treble Making with Cruella de Vil, and they have the Dr. Facilier's parlor thing. And of course the Storytellers, which are amazing. So I think without any specific thing being a priority, I wanted to make sure we did the things that were specific to the Destiny. So we're big trivia people. We like to do all those things. But if it came down to let's go to a trivia versus let's wait in line, which I hate waiting in line, but let's wait in line for Cruella, we waited for Cruella. So we made sure to really focus on those things that were only going to happen on the Destiny.
And that's really smart because you did have those 2 fantasy cruises booked, and you're not going to have Cruella on the fantasy, and you're not going to have Dr. Facilier on the fantasy, and you're not going to have With Great Power, the Marvel show, on the fantasy. So you could do like all the trivia you want on the fantasy and prioritize the things on the Destiny. Yeah. So Todd, what were you like, I must do, or these are the things I'm looking forward to, kind of a thing?
I think similar to Erica's answer, that like those things are specific to the Destiny. And kind of looking back now, I'm glad we did wait. Like we waited in line a little while for Dr. Facilier, and that's not an experience I need to do every time I'm on the Destiny, or I don't need to do it multiple times on a cruise or anything like that. But I'm glad we were able to experience that. Same thing with the Cruella. I could probably do that a few times on even a single cruise.
Same.
And things, but typically we won't wait in line, but we made sure to do so just because it was something different. Also, in a interesting twist on the Destiny, we had a couple of friends we've sailed with in the past and they were sailing concierge, and we were table mates with them. So Erica mentioned the Pride Lands, so they had put in a request that we could go to Pride Lands twice, just since that was a new restaurant for us. So we had that on the first night and got it another night as well.
Oh, so you had the second menu in Pride Lands too.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yep.
You're only sailing on a 4-night sailing, you're not going to get that second menu, but you're going to have the pirate menu. But if you're on a 5-night sailing and you happen to dine in Lion King Pride Lands restaurant twice, you're going to get the 2 different Lion King menus, which is awesome.
In my opinion, the second menu is way better.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, that's Erica. You are like, I can't wait to get back on the ship. Unfortunately, we don't sail again on the cruise line until December. It's May 31st as when we're recording this episode, but we will be on the Destiny back to back in December, and we will be on 2 5-night sailings. So we're very excited. We'll have 2 opportunities at that Pride Lands menu. If we we have to make a request to dine at Pride Lands twice.
Yeah, there is. I don't know if you're meat eaters, honestly, but there's like I think it's in Coco. There's like a short rib that was so good, and they have something very similar to that in the second menu on the line at the Pride Lands, and I almost missed it because when it's a brand new menu, even if you look ahead, like you don't know, like on the older ships, on older menus, I know the things I love. This was like, I almost missed it. And then as I was eating it, I think I said multiple times, I can't believe I almost didn't see this, because I would have been so sad.
That's the dish that Brian's been looking forward to the most, honestly. Short ribs of beef is Brian's meat territory. I am a steak girl, but I do not like braised meats. I know people think that's weird. Brian thinks I'm weird because of it, but I just don't like braised meats.
That's fair. It's fair.
I'm actually excited to try like the night 2 menu.
In general.
Period.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's going to be the dish I order, but like we didn't get a chance to experience it across the 3 sailings we've done on the Destiny.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly.
I think it was better, but honestly, I feel like I can't remember the first one right now. So.
That shrimp curry haunts my dreams in a good way. Like I
don't love shrimp, but I love curry. And our table mate had it, and I was like, that does look really good.
It's
like,
really good.
I'm not allergic to shrimp. I could try it.
Yeah. Next time you go on, you'll have to try it. Like even if you order 2 dishes, because I really think that shrimp curry is so good. But I like shrimp and I like curry. So it works for me. What did you guys think of like since we're talking about food, what did you guys think about the show in Pride Lands? Of course, there's only one show. So the first night that you're in Pride Lands is that typically the show night. What did you guys think of it? You would have had good seats too, because
we were sitting. Literally, I could reach out and touch the drums. Like that's where we were.
Yeah.
Although
when you're sitting with concierge cruisers, you're typically going to be in sort of, I'll call it a concierge section, but like closer to the stage.
Yeah.
Is typically what
I will say. It was a great seat, but it was very loud.
Yeah.
We did not talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was going to say, personally, I like the show. I think the music is great. I like the fact it's less of a show maybe than like maybe Coco is on the Treasure. To me, it just, especially if I think if you're in a further table, you don't get to pick up on the show quite as much. So I think just having the music and they're performing some while they're there on stage, but it's not like Timon and Pumbaa are out there or Simba is or anything like that.
They're not telling as much of a story directly.
Also, I thought the musicians looked like they were having a great time. They were just so happy. And I think that made me like it even more, the fact that they look like they were having a great time.
Yeah, totally agree.
If you're listening to us right now, chances are pretty good that you love Disney vacations as much as we do. But even seasoned travelers know there's a ton to keep up with when it comes to Disney Cruise Line. From cruise itineraries to the perfect stateroom for your family, shore excursions, and onboard experiences. And if you're planning to visit the Disney parks before or after your cruise, then there's even more to plan, from the perfect resort to lightning lane strategies, dining reservations, park tickets, special offers, and much, much more.
That's where We Do Travel Right comes in. Their team of experienced travel advisors specializes in Disney Cruise Line, Disney parks, and other exciting places all around the world. They take the time to understand what matters most to your family, providing personalized recommendations and helping you navigate all the details so you can spend less time stressing and more time looking forward to your vacation. Whether it's your first Disney cruise or your 10th, having an expert in your corner can make all the difference.
Life is short. Take the trip. Visit WeDoTravelRight.com/DCLDuo to connect with a travel advisor and start planning your next unforgettable adventure.
We Do Travel Right, the crew that handles the planning so you can focus on relaxing.
Now, you guys have already experienced Worlds at Marvel on the Treasure and on the Wish, so which means you've seen both shows because they're both on the Treasure. Anything stand out to you in terms of, Worlds of Marvel on the Destiny? I mean, it's really the same, except you've got the night 1 menu with the night 2 show. That's the only difference.
I like the night 2 show. I like both shows at Marvel. I know some people don't. I like both. I like the Groot and the trivia and the music a little bit better. It's a little less invasive and in your face. So if I only had one, that's the one I would pick. So I like that that's the one that they go with. I don't remember the night 2 menu at Marvel, so I can't remember if I miss it or not.
Yeah, no worries. I want to ask about Marvel more generally. Todd, I'll throw this one to you. Of course, you've got more Marvel theming on this ship, on the Destiny. Are you guys Marvel fans? Did you lean into that? Did you, go see, the what's it called? Celebration of the King or the Legend of Loki? And did you go see the With Great Power adult only show?
Yeah, so we are Marvel fans. We got into it a little bit late. It was around like when COVID was in 2020 or so. We started to catch up on everything. And since then, we've been big Marvel fans. So I think that was good with the ship. And we saw all the different shows. We saw the Black Panther one. We saw the great moments in Saga and things. And they were all great.
We also saw the Wakanda music thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
the drummers. Yeah, they're drummers.
Yep.
Yeah,
with the drummers from Pride Lands. So they were able to do both. But I was a big fan of all of it, and even some of those, like we said, maybe we waited a little bit more than we would have if they were available somewhere else or something like that. But it was all worthwhile, and things like even the one with Black Panther, I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Celebration. Well, there's the Legend of Loki that Black Panther shows up at, but then there's also Celebration of a King that is...
Yes.
Yeah, we did both of those.
Yeah, we did. And I think, so me on a cruise, I'm not good at sitting still. I want to go and see stuff and things like that. Erica every now and then needs a little bit of a break. So I think Erica sat in the Grand Hall for a little while I was like, I'm just going to go walk around. But I kept on timing it well where I'd be like, okay, I will be back by 4:00 or whatever time that starts.
But then I got to watch Donald and Goofy playing rock, paper, scissors. So, I mean, you don't miss out by just sitting still too.
Yeah, that's honestly a great point, Erica. Like you can run around and hit every activity that's all that you've hearted in the app. But you can also experience a lot by just sitting and seeing what comes by, especially like near that atrium area. If you're sitting either on one of the little sort of couch looking things, either in the sort of on deck 3 in the atrium, or if you're sitting on the chairs up on deck 4 or deck 5, you'll see characters come by for their meet and greets. You'll see characters heading from different activities. You'll see cast members heading to their various activities that they're running. So you can actually experience a lot just sitting and people watching, which is really fun to do.
We love people watching.
Yeah. We spend a lot of our cruises like either on deck 12 or deck 10 if you're on the Magic or Wonder, like looking over, or on like deck 4 of the atrium looking over and just watching things. And it's fun whenever all of a sudden Donald comes up behind you or Mickey does or whoever does.
I need to interject a past cruise story here just real quick. We were sitting with some friends we were on the Fantasy. We were on deck 4, just sitting in those chairs. And we were discussing like, oh, let's go to Marvel trivia. We weren't sure. And so it was the two of us and then this other couple about our age and their daughter who was 17. And the daughter got up and went back to the room for something. And while we were sitting there, Thor and Doctor Strange are like walking around on deck 4, like meeting people. And then we're like, hey, do you guys want to go be on our trivia team? And they're like, yeah, let's go. So the 4 of us adults go with Thor and Doctor Strange to O'Gill's to do trivia. And like right before we got there, they went outside so they could go in the back way. And we went in and then they came in and they walked through trivia and then they just said hi to everybody and they left. And we ended up leaving and we went back and their daughter is like, where the heck did you guys go? I came back and you were gone. And I was like, well, if Thor and Doctor Strange want to be on your Marvel trivia team, you go.
You go. Exactly. Absolutely. I love that.
That was so fun. So like, I think those character interactions that you can have by just kind of hanging out sometimes end up being really awesome.
Totally. Absolutely. All right, I want to pivot to shows because of course we've got new stuff. We always like to talk about what's new, right? We've got Hercules to talk about on the Disney Destiny. Are you guys show people? Do you go to the Walt Disney Theater? Okay, you're nodding yes. Okay. What did you think of the shows? I mean, what did you think of all 3 shows on the Disney Destiny, assuming you went to them?
We went to all of them, just kind of in order almost. Seize the Adventure. I wish it was longer, but I'm a big fan of it. I think all the songs knock it out of the park. I like the storyline, bringing them all together and everything. So that was as expected. Hercules, I thought was great. I think I'd probably still rank maybe Beauty and the Beast ahead of it in terms of my favorite show across the fleet, but it was outstanding. And Frozen, we actually saw that on all 3 of our ship. So we saw it 3 times in our 2 weeks, and every time it was good. It was interesting to notice a couple differences maybe between the Destiny and the Fantasy of Frozen. There's not a lot that I really remembered that was different, but yeah, Hercules. And I don't know if they were supposed to or not, but our concierge friends had us come with them. So we got seating with them. If they weren't supposed to, we'll keep that quiet.
Yeah. Nobody listened. It never happened.
Exactly.
So I will say, technically, they're not supposed to. But I will also say, though, if they had saved you 2 seats, nobody would have thought anything of it either, right? Because it's very common. Well, as long as you're not saving like an entire row, I feel like most people are pretty considerate. Like if you're saving 1 or 2 seats, because typically that means like half your party's going to get popcorn or in the bathroom or so. So it's neither here nor there, really.
Yeah, we felt in the grand scheme of things, for as much stuff as our friend wanted us to do with them, we were like, we're not going there, we're not doing this. But okay, yes, we will get into the. And really, the only one we cared about was Hercules in terms of getting in with them and not having to wait in the hour-long line, because Disney people are Disney people. And if there's a queue, they're going to start it.
That's true. And to let folks know, for concierge, you still have to be there early because they do let you enter ahead of the rest of the crowd, but it's usually about 35 to 40 minutes early for the show rather than an hour or more. If you are somebody who is not sailing concierge, but you're really particular about your seat, I want to be fourth row center, right? Or something like that, then you are going to have to wait for Hercules on the Destiny and for Moana on the Treasure. That's really and anything on the Adventure right now. That's a very lineup culture over there. But so yeah, for those two shows, which are still the newest in the fleet, people are tending to wait longer. And even some of the other shows, people will wait. It won't be waiting over an hour, but they'll probably wait a half hour or more.
And I think especially that's true of newer cruisers because they don't realize that. I would say, especially once we got to the Fantasy, we didn't need to go to every show because we were going to be on a back-to-back. We ended up going to all 3 shows on the first leg and then 2 out of the 3 on the second leg. But I mean, we literally decided 5 minutes before and we're like, well, wherever we end up is where we end up. And there aren't really bad seats.
Exactly. If you're not particular about where you sit, you don't have to go super early, except for, as I mentioned, on for Hercules and Moana, you have to even get if you get there like 5 minutes before, there might not be a seat left in the house. So that's one of the issues for sure, because it's just higher demand for the newest of the shows versus on a lot of people who've been on the Fantasy before. So let's actually dive into the Fantasy. Was it jarring when you went into the atrium on the Fantasy having I know it's
it is
just 5 days later, right? Like
I think it's an excellent question.
Yeah.
So we always joke about how tiny the atrium is on the Magic and Wonder compared to the Fantasy. And I mean, it is. It feels like you're in a shoebox. But going from the Wish class, the Destiny, and we got on the Fantasy and we're like, this is it? Like, it feels so small that we were like, this is really jarring. It was jarring is a great word for it.
And I think the Fantasy, I think both Erica and I have said that that's our favorite ship over the course of time. But it was interesting because once we got on the Fantasy after being on the Destiny, I think that gap between the Fantasy and whatever wish class you want to say shrunk a little bit because we were noticing so many things. Even if it's something like that with the atrium or grand hall being smaller, I noticed like the stairways are smaller left to right on the Fantasy. And while I like the kind of the ship theme of the Fantasy, I could see someone who maybe was on a Wish class or that's all they're familiar with coming to the Fantasy and feeling like that's a little bit more dated or things.
Seems darker
I don't feel that way, but I could see someone feeling that way. So it was interesting because I think especially our first 24 hours on the Fantasy, we were just kind of making a mental list of, oh, this is better on the Destiny, or oh, this is definitely better on the Fantasy and things. So we were doing a lot of comparing with them so close.
Yeah, I think that's inevitable. If you're sailing side to side and you're going from one class to another, or even within the same class, you're going to do a lot of compare, but more so in different classes because there are much bigger differences. I mean, the Fantasy is a beautiful ship. It leans much more into classic ocean liner, nautical theming, and also classic Disney theming than the newer ships. The newer ships lean more into whatever IP sort of, or, and theming that they've sort of set for that particular ship. So it's just, it's a difference in, like from stern to hull, right? Like it's just, or stern to bow, right? Like it's just, even though they all look the same from the outside or very, very similar from the outside, once you get on the ship, they have a big difference. I'd say the first 4 ships are all kind of, even though they're 2 different classes, really similar in sort of the theming and the vibe of them. And then once you hit the Wish class, you have a much bigger differentiation that starts to happen. So what were you guys doing on the Fantasy? You have 9 days on the Fantasy. I mean, did you do every trivia on that darn ship? I mean,
We always do a lot of trivia. Actually, you can kind of see on the top of the bookshelf behind Todd, there is our pile of trivia medallions from previous
medals.
cruises. So
Ooh.
many. There's so, I mean, and everyone's like, oh, do you still need this one? I'm like, no, we don't. Like, we ended up, the ones we did win, which were several, we ended up putting in people's fish extenders on the last day because we're like, we don't need to take these home. We did a lot of trivia.
I love that you did that though, Erica, because people love those medals, and there are people who are always like looking to get, like, we just finally finished our set. Now I have all of the different ones, one of each. I have actually a couple of extras, but people like really covet those medals, and certain trivias, they don't even give them out.
Yeah, and I think we were a little lucky. I think when they first changed to these medallions, I think we were on a cruise fairly soon after they changed, and we do a lot of trivia, but I think the cast members were really itching to give them out. So we ended up with a complete set the first time that we were on a cruise that had them. But not everyone is that lucky. So, like I said, we have them at home. We gave them away. So we did do a lot of trivia. One of the things.
What are your best topics? I need to know, because I think we need to sail with you guys so that we can maybe some topics that we can't possibly win on our own.
I'm going to be honest. If we don't get a 20 out of 20 on Disney Cruise Line trivia, it's a fail.
The one thing that I think we were a little bit concerned about going into the cruises, though, is we wanted to be careful not to repeat trivias and things, because it's not like, I don't want to go get a 20 out of 20 and beat someone for a trivia I just did 2 days ago and things like that. But they actually switched. They've been switching the questions a lot more than they used to. And like, there was one Frozen trivia we did that was essentially the same, and we stayed at it, but we didn't raise our hand whenever they asked for numbers and things like that, because we're like, that's not fair.
Well,
but we liked the way that they were 16. Changing.
The first time we got a 16, and so I said, I want to see if we learned the questions we got wrong.
If we now remember the answers.
And the cast member could tell, like, she had seen us a lot, and we, had talked to her a lot, and she's like, I know that you guys have like a good score, and she kind of looked, and I'm like, no, it's good. Yeah. And then there was a tiebreaker, and she walked by and she looked at our paper and she's like, figures. But so the Disney Cruise Line and the Tunes trivia are our two best ones. We love the Disney Tunes live when they play the piano. We never miss those. And I was nervous those were going to be the same. And each time they were different on both within the sailing and from sailing to sailing. They switched up the questions and how they did it. Like on the first sailing, one of them was you had to name the song, the movie, and answer a bonus question. And then that same piano player on the second cruise, it only was the question and maybe the song or something. And it was 20 completely different songs. I don't think any of them repeated from the first week.
I like when they change it up. I will say the knows more system that they're using for trivia automatically jumbles them up now. And so you typically, let's say you're doing brain teasers, for example, and they'll do brain teasers 2 or 3 times across a cruise. You are not going to have the same. I mean, you might have like one random question that gets repeated because it's pulling from, let's say, 100 questions, right? And you're going to get 20. So you might have randomly 1 or 2 that could repeat, but generally speaking, you're not going to have as much repetition as it used to be. It used to be they were operating from like a script, and now with the knows more system that randomly selects the questions for them. So
we asked the cast members, they said that there's about, for some of the topics, there's at least 60 to 80 questions, and they randomize them. And then each cruise, they randomize them again. So, and then they have within a cruise, they have so many sets that they can pick, and they'll pick a different number every time so that you get a different variety. And we tend to mark them and say, okay, we just had these questions. And if it's too many, we just don't raise our hand, even if we're not going to win. We did accidentally win movie quotes trivia.
When we're bad at quotes and villains. And somehow we won the quotes. Yeah. We don't know how.
Yeah, I was only raising my hand because I thought for sure we were going to get knocked out. And then I was like, oops.
I want to ask a couple of compare questions because obviously we're not going to be able to talk about everything you did on the fantasy because we spent a lot of time talking about logistics and of course talking about the Destiny since that one was a new ship for you all. But I'm curious, like on like activities, did you feel like you had enough to do on the fantasy given that you had just come from the Destiny where there's a lot of new stuff that you wanted to do?
I think we did. As a matter of fact, Erica and I, we commented, I think on the first day on the fantasy, we were like, there's so many more activities on the fantasy than maybe on some of the Wish class ships in terms of like on the Destiny, there's kind of those big ticket things like the Cruella and stuff like that. But there's not as many, it seems like to us at least, trivias or arts and crafts or stuff like that. So we got on the fantasy and we're going through the navigator and we're like, ooh, this is nice. Like, look at this. There's 3 things we have to decide from at this time, which one we want to do. So at least for us, there was enough to do. And really like kind of our day usually ends up being, I get up and run, Erica continues to sleep. I come back, wake her up, we go to breakfast. And then kind of during that daytime, we're going to different activities and things like that. And then sometime late afternoon, we like into the early evening, we change clothes and kind of go into the evening mode and go to the show and dinner and whatever activities in, whether it's Saga, the Tube, or anything like that. So that's kind of the way our day works out. And I think on the fantasy, I know I had plenty to do. I think Erica did too.
Yeah, I would say it also helped having the back-to-back because we were like, well, if we do have to choose between these 2 activities, we could do that next time. But we also were talking to cast members, like they did color spin dance party on the 5 night, but they did not have color spin on the 4 night. So we're like, okay, if we want to do that, we have to do that. But on the second cruise, we ended up, I think, spending a little more pool time. We're not huge go to the pool all day people, but we'll go to the pool, go to the hot tub a little bit. I think we did that a little bit more. We did skip Aladdin, the second cruise, because we just feel like we've seen it a lot of times. So we didn't go to that, but I don't remember. Maybe we went to the pool during that time, which was interesting because no one was there.
Yeah, it's always a nice and quiet pool deck.
And then we weren't going to go to Frozen. Yeah, we weren't going to go to Frozen for the 2nd/3rd time, but we were packing and then we got done packing and it was like 5 or 10 minutes before the show. So we're like, well, we're not doing anything else and there's no activities we want to go to. So let's go again. We sat in the balcony with a bunch of families. That was interesting.
I imagine.
And one of the things that we enjoy is we enjoy interacting with other guests and with the cast members leading things. So I think on the fantasy, especially being there for 9 nights and doing the back-to-back, especially I think the cast members end up seeing you again and they're like, wait a second here, you're still here and things, but then all of a sudden you have at least one little connection there. And that kind of kept us busy as well, kind of having those interactions and making those friends.
I'm curious what you thought about sort of service level and food quality and sort of, I want to compare, fantasy and Destiny and get your feedback. Did you feel like you were getting as maybe better service, worse service, comparable service, and then same as in terms of food? Erica, I'll throw this question to you first.
So I think food-wise, I would say the food quality was about the same for me across both ships. I always enjoy the Disney Cruise Line food. I know, some people don't. Everybody has their opinions. I like that I'm not planning it. I'm not cooking it. It's more fancy than what I eat most of the time. I could have steak every night. Like, it's good stuff. Service-wise, I think this trip was very interesting. We had on the Destiny, our servers for dinner, our main server and assistant server were, I think, the best out of all the cruises we've done. They were fantastic. I often wonder when people talk about, oh, our servers were the best. I can't wait to see them again. And I'm like, they were good, but I don't know. These people, I would go back to a million times. They were so great. And I think we had gotten to the point where our first few cruises, the service was really high. And then it kind of went down a little bit. And we were like, maybe this is just the new norm. And the servers we had on the Destiny proved that that is not true. The expectation can still be there. They were great. Then our first set of servers on the Fantasy, not so great. It was
And you had just come from the
comical.
Destiny with
I know.
great servers too. So then
I
it's
feel
even worse of a contrast. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I want to say that it wasn't marred by that, but it might have been a little, but it was almost just the comical stuff. Like the first 2 nights, I had pie type of cheesecake and pie, and they brought me spoons. And then the third night, I had a sundae, and they brought me a fork. And I was like, what? They sang happy anniversary. They sang happy anniversary to one of our table mates when it was her birthday, even though the day before they asked her about her birthday. It was such little nitpicky things. Like none of it was terrible. It wasn't bad, but it was not as good. And so then we were in this conundrum because we knew they were going to ask us, do you want to stay with these servers? And my answer was no, I do not want to stay, but I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
So we just kind of were like, well, maybe a different part of the dining room, a different experience. It'll be fine. And they were fine with it, but I know they had questions because we ended up requesting a server that we had for breakfast one morning. Just
Oh,
because
interesting.
she was nice and she brought us churro waffles in the main dining room. And so we requested her, and the first night she's like, what happened? Why did you want to switch? And I'm like, oh, we just want to see you. And then the last night she was like, you were just wondering what happened. And I'm like, oh, we just wanted a different experience. And I know people say like, you should let them know when there's stuff to fix. And I agree 100%. When it was these tiny little things and it was a different thing every night.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to tell them to fix it. Like one night he forgot Todd's entree. We had ordered each our own entree and then one to share. And he had forgotten Todd's. He said, oh, I'll bring your fish in 1 minute. And then proceeded to run across Enchanted Garden to the kitchen. And I was like, he doesn't have it. He did not remember.
Yeah.
So it's just little things. But after having had the awesome experience on the Destiny, that was a little lacking. But they were super nice. Like they were fine.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a comedy.
It's hard because you also know if you give them a bad rating, like it can really hurt their careers, right? So it's like this balance. I totally get where you're coming from, Erica. You're like, they weren't like horrible. Like they didn't like bring me something I'm allergic to, but
it didn't ruin my cruise by any means.
Right.
In fact, it added entertainment. But
yeah.
And we'll be booking again.
So I'm just curious, like having gone through this experience of side to side, back to back, like would you do something like this again? Or did you find it to be, a little bit more complex from a planning standpoint or an execution standpoint than you might just opt for straight up back to back, or maybe 2 7-night sailings or just a week on the treasure? Yeah.
I think for us, first of all, Erica said as we were getting off the last day, she was like, "You want to know something that's better than one Disney cruise? 3 Disney cruises." so I think that's a little bit of our answer. I think for us, planning is part of the fun. So I don't think planning 3 different cruises is much of a burden. I think also that helps us, just the 2 of us. We don't have additional people, luggage, anything like that other than just the 2 of us. So I think we're maybe a little bit more nimble than maybe a family of 3, 4, 5, however many people. So personally, I would do it again. I think sometimes it might depend on just kind of what our schedule is, what ship we want to be on and things. I mean, obviously, we've done the 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruise the last 3 Mays. So like in 23, 24, and 25. So we kind of had done at least a 7-night cruise. So starting this one with just the 5-night, that is kind of what spurred us to want to do a little bit more initially. And then we kind of kept adding on. So I think we would do it again if the circumstances work out and budget works out and things. Obviously, we can't always do 14 nights at once all the time with budgets and vacation and stuff like that. But this time it worked out.
I have a lot of trouble picking, I'm like, oh, now, okay, so we went on the Destiny and the Fantasy, and now I'm like, oh, but we haven't been on the Magic and the Wonder in a while, and now we're going to have to go on the Believe, so when are we going to fit that in? Like, it's my job.
Right.
And so...
I mean, you could do like a Magic and a Dream, right? Like, you got to figure that or something.
Yeah, so, and we had done a side-by-side previously in 24, Todd. We did the Magic from San Juan to Port Everglades, spent the night with my aunt and uncle, and then went up to Port Canaveral to do a week on the Fantasy. So we had that experience of fitting in the two different ships. And I think there's things I would like about longer back-to-backs, like 2 7-nights would be great because I don't have to, move, and I'd be in a nice, fairly long, long cruise without trying to find a 14-night cruise that I can't find. But I kind of like getting a taste of the different classes of ships in the same trip.
Sam, I think we've reached that point in the show where I need to hand it off to you for some arbitrary questions, some arbitrary rules, and a dash of judgment of the round we know as a rapid fire. So Sam, take it away.
All right. I'm going to keep it short. We're going to keep it quick. Just the answers. Todd, when I ask you a question, your favorite. Erica, when I ask you your question, your favorite. Don't tell me each other's favorite or your collective favorite. Your favorites don't have to be the same. Just because you're a couple doesn't mean you have to match. Brian and I often don't match. All right. So we'll start with your favorite Disney character, Todd.
Dopey.
Erica.
Rapunzel.
Love it. Favorite Disney movie, Erica.
Sword in the Stone.
Todd.
I'm going to go Big Hero 6.
Ah, yes. Erica, favorite Disney song.
Whatever the name of that one with Mother Gothel is.
Oh, Mother Knows Best.
Mother Knows
Best. Yes, Todd.
I'm going to go with music from the Paint the Night Parade.
Ooh, that's
if that counts.
Yeah.
I don't know if that counts.
It all counts. It all counts. I love that. All right. Switching over to Disney Cruise Line. Favorite show on the Walt Disney Theater stage, Todd.
Beauty and the Beast, as I mentioned before.
Yes. Erica.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yes,
Sure.
Look at that. Matching answers. All right. We're going to talk rotational dining. Erica, which restaurant across the fleet, it doesn't have to be on, either of the ships you were just on, favorite rotational dining restaurant. And I don't care if it's because the theming you love, the food you love, the show you love, like just your overall favorite. Erica.
Animator's Palette on the Magic class.
Yeah. Todd.
I'm going to go with Coco on the Treasure.
Ooh, I love that. Nice. Okay. Favorite savory and sweet food. We're going to start with sweets. Actually, I'm going to have you give me both at the same time. Sweet and then a savory. Todd.
I'm going to go with cranberry slices from the Cove Cafe. For that, that's the sweet one. Erica's going to laugh at me here because I need help with the savory one from her because I'm not good at defining what's different.
Savory means not sweet.
Not sweet.
Right. So I'm trying to think of what that is.
Salty or like a main course.
Like a pasta.
I'll let Erica answer first. And I'm going to come back on the savory.
All right, Erica. Sweet and then savory.
Well, my favorite savory was deep fried brie, but for those that haven't heard, it's gone. So that's a really hard question now. I'm gonna say probably the beef in Royal Court. Like they also changed it, but the tenderloin, like whatever that meal is with the beef in Royal Court, 1923, whatever the steak is, I'm good. And for sweet, I'm gonna go with simple ice cream.
Yeah. The pool deck ice cream or a scooped
pool deck ice cream?
Pool deck ice cream. Love it. All right.
Although I have had both at the same time, which was a little embarrassing.
A little excessive, but it's all right. You're cruising. Cruise calories don't count.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the savory, and I don't know if this counts as savory or not, but every night at the main dining room, I get both soups. So I'm going to count that as my answer.
That is.
So this was our cruise.
I love
this was our cruise of 28 soups.
Oh my God. I cannot eat that many soups. All right. That is a very strange answer, Todd, but I love it. All right. Well, we're going to talk favorite activity on board. Is the answer trivia, Todd?
Yes, I think it is. Trivia.
Erica?
Yeah, trivia.
I love that. All right. Okay. Really important question. Which one is your favorite ship? Is it the Fantasy or does the Treasure eke it out? Erica, let's start with you.
Oh, that's so hard. I have such a special place for everything. I think it's still the Fantasy. But man, the Treasure's really close. And then I feel bad and I want to say the Magic. So I think probably those three at any given moment are going to win the race.
Wow. All right, Todd. And they're all just so different. Yeah.
They're so different.
I think for me, the Fantasy is my favorite.
All right. Fairly confident there. All right. Well, the last question of Rapid Fire, your bucket list cruise, again, you do not have to have matching answers. if you could go anywhere in the world on a Disney Cruise Line ship, it doesn't have to be someplace that Disney Cruise Line currently sails, just has to be someplace accessible by water and someplace you have not been on a cruise too. Todd, let's start with you. Where would you go?
That's tough to kind of make something. I'm so routine that I just want to just say one I've already gone on. Like I love the Eastern Caribbean 7-night sailing. So I know that's kind of a cop out, but that's what I'm going to go with.
All right. You fail, Erica. What about you?
I do.
I'm going to pick one that they already do, which has always been my dream, is the Panama Canal. But I want to go through the old locks.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's a great answer, Erica. Yeah. Okay. Well, Erica, you win, which means Todd, you lose.
we both won because we got off a cruise a week ago.
You guys, thank you guys so much. It was really fun. I love your answers. I love the paint the night answer, Todd. That was a great one. Yeah.
So, I remember I spent one day at work just listening to only that, just on repeat, like shortly after it came out. So that's why it sticks in my head.
Well, Todd, Erica, I always like to ask, what's next? Like, what do you have booked out there?
That's a good question. We have 2 other cruises booked. We have one on the Treasure booked for January, but we booked that before I signed up for Marathon Weekend, and it conflicts. So that'll be changing in some capacity. And then we have one for next May booked on the Wonder that we might combine with Disneyland. But we keep on wondering if that's what we want to do or not. So TBA on what's next. Erica's trying to push for a Treasure in August and things, but we'll see.
It's a guaranteed. I mean, why not? We leave on your birthday.
I mean, a birthday cruise, you could even get the birthday decoration package, and then you could wear one of those funny ties or big buttons, or and have people wish you happy birthday all day. It's fun.
So we don't have a concrete answer for you, Brian, unfortunately, but there will be something else next.
We will be back. We will be back.
All right. Well, we super appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on and share this fabulous experience that you had with everyone out there listening and our audience. And just want to say thanks and appreciate you taking the time.
All right.
Thanks
Thank you for having us. This was super fun.
All right, that's our show for tonight, but thank you so much for listening. If you're not subscribed yet, please fix that right now. Head over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, hit that subscribe button. We're dropping at least 2 episodes a week. Plus, we're live each and every week over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DCLDuo. Come hang out with us for a live. It's a blast. You can ask your questions in the chat and really join the conversation with us and our guests. If you're enjoying our show, one of the easiest ways to support the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, hit those 5 stars, and while you're at it, leave us a written review with your 5-star review, and we will read it on the air at the top of one of our main episodes. If you're listening to us on another platform, Spotify, YouTube, Castos, there's so many third-party podcast apps and players out there. Whatever form of review or rating they have, give it all to us. Show the show some love. It keeps us going, keeps us putting out great content week to week. Are you ready to set sail? Book your next Disney Cruise Line vacation with our show sponsor, We Do Travel Right, the crew that handles the planning so you can focus on relaxing. Head to wedotravelright.com/DCLDuo today to get started, or you can reach out to them directly. Just let them know the DCL Duo sent you. Subscribe today to DCL Magazine. They put out a great product. Head over there. It's your go-to guide for DCL tips and tricks. Just browse to DCL-magazine.com. That's DCL-magazine.com and use code DCL Duo, all caps DCL Duo today for 10% off everything in the WDW magazine store. And if you want to directly support the show, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/DCL Duo. That's patreon.com/DCL Duo. Every pledge helps us keep bringing you great DCL content every week. Want more from us? Just head over to DCLDuo.com where you will find links to our full episode catalog, our vlog, our Etsy store, our Patreon, our Substack newsletter, and our show sponsors all in one place. Or you can email us at info@dclduo.com or leave us a voicemail at 402-413-5590. That's 402-413-5590. 5590. The views expressed in this podcast are our own and do not reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company, Disney Cruise Line, or any other travel provider discussed or mentioned. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time for another fabulous adventure with the DCL duo. Good night.